Well, I'm sure as you all know by now, the SE Silver Sky has been unveiled. On today's episode, we're going to be going over the specs of the SE Silver Sky and we'll see how it compares to the original Silver Sky. Let's get right on into it. Starting with the guitar overall, the SE Silver Sky is probably going to cost just under $1,000 US, where the core model costs $2,600. So the SE Silver Sky comes in 4 colors. You have Stone Blue, Evergreen, Moon White, and Dragon Fruit. The current Silver Sky regular production model has 9 colors that are currently being produced. So 4 versus 9, and then you have polyurethane for this SE Silver Sky, and then nitro finish for the regular Silver Sky. Moving on to the body, the biggest change is going to be that poplar is used for the wood over alder, like on these Silver Skies. I'm going to leave it up to the comments to discuss the differences in tone and resonance between alder and poplar, but there are going to be certain differences. The main one, honestly, though, is that poplar is just a lot more affordable and more easily sourced than alder. Moving on to the neck is where things are going to get interesting, to say the least. Both guitars have 22 frets and a scale length of 25.5. That hasn't changed at all. The necks are also both made of maple, which is obviously very nice. The SE Silver Sky does also come with rosewood. I was unsure if it was going to come with Palo Ferraro, but it's nice to see that it actually has rosewood. There are no maple options, whereas with the regular Silver Sky, you obviously get rosewood as well as a maple board option. Now, if you're really gassing for a maple board SE Silver Sky, I'd say maybe wait and see if something happens next year after the initial launch of the SE Silver Sky. We might get maple board options just like with the regular Silver Sky, maple came afterwards. So if that's really what you want, maybe wait. Moving on to the neck shape itself, the SE Silver Sky has what they call the 635JM neck shape. Now this neck shape is the original neck shape on the Silver Sky that was on all the models when it released. The current maple board Silver Skies as well have the 635JM neck shape, while the Rosewoods now have what's called the 635JM-R neck shape, which essentially is just rounded in the shoulders a little bit more, and I find it more comfortable compared to earlier Silver Skies that I've played. So it's something worth noting that they stuck with the original neck shape over the newer Rosewood neck shape. Now, the most perplexing part of the SE Silver Sky, honestly, in my opinion, and I'm sure everyone's, is the radius. It's not 7 1/4, it's not 9 1/2, it's 8 1/2. And I just don't honestly get this move. People would have wanted to get a 9 1/2 or a 7 1/4 inch. I think that's the two most popular radiuses that people would have wanted. They either want the modern take and a 9 1/2, maybe even 10, or they want the original vintage radius on the Silver Sky being 7 1/4. So 8 1/2 is kind of an oddball choice. I'm sure it's going to play well, but I just don't really get the move personally myself why they would do that instead of just giving what the people clearly want. Like, I don't think anyone was sitting there waiting for the release information to come out thinking, oh, please don't let it be 7 1/4 or 9 1/2, let it be 8 1/2. I just don't think anyone was really hoping for that. At the end of the day, all that matters is how it plays, and again, I'm sure it plays great, but it's just a really weird move. It's a really weird move.
It makes no damn sense. Compels me, though.
Now, the last thing to touch on for the neck is going to be that the nut material for the regular Silver Sky is bone, while the SE has synthetic. Now we're going to move on to the hardware for the guitars itself. The SE Silver Sky has a 2-point trem system, where the regular Silver Sky has a 6-point trem system. As well, the tuners are different. You have the beautiful locking tuners on the regular Silver Sky. Honestly, my favorite tuners ever fitted on a guitar. And then you have just regular vintage style non-locking tuners on the SE model. If you're going to do any upgrading to the SE at all, I think one of the first things I would personally do at least is switch to some sort of locking tuner. I'm not sure if these would even fit on that model or not, but something to keep in mind. One thing I'm noticing just looking at the pictures of the SE, especially on the Moon White one, to me it looks like the pickup covers, the knobs, and the selector switch, it looks like they're almost cream colored. They're not color matched to the guard. So that's also a difference that you're going to see compared to the regular Silver Skies, where at least when you get it new, everything is color matched. Speaking of knobs and selector switch, you obviously get one volume, two tone, and the 5-way selector switch. That hasn't changed at all, not that you would expect anything different. The last spec here to talk about, which is going to be one that's going to cause, I'm sure, a bit of debate, is the electronics, specifically the pickups. Now, the pickups for the SE Silver Sky are called the 635JM-S. That is not the same as the 635JM in this model here. Now, I've seen some comments and some speculation that that just means that they're manufactured across the pond. And well, yes, that is going to for sure be true. That doesn't mean that we're just getting the identical pickups that are in this guitar. I'm pretty damn confident that they are going to be different. Whether it's just the materials that's actually used in terms of making the pickups or however they do it, they're going to be voiced probably extremely similar, and they're going to sound great. I have no doubt in my mind about that, but they're not going to be the same. They're not going to be the same pickups that you get in this guitar versus the SE model. It's just not going to happen. They are going to be a bit different. I still think they're going to be great, so don't get me wrong on that. I still think they're going to sound great, definitely do the John Mayer thing. They're just not going to be what you get in the regular Silver Sky. I think the only thing I haven't touched on really is the truss rod cover. Now on the SE model, that is different. It's a lot larger than the sleek flush version of it you get on the regular Silver Sky. That is one mainly cosmetic feature that you're going to notice on the SE versus the core model, is just the different truss rod cover as well. Now with the main differences in specs done with, I thought I'd give just some of my personal thoughts overall. So this is just me talking about what I personally think. And I think it's going to be a great guitar, especially if it's sub $1,000 US. I think it's going to be a lot of guitar for the money. However, if I was in the market for a John Mayer signature guitar and I wanted a Silver Sky, I think maybe I would try and save up a little bit more and get a used core model Silver Sky. Sometimes you can find really great deals on used Silver Skies. You can get them for relatively affordable in comparison to even what they are new. So that might be where I would personally lean with it. In the long run, I think you might be a little bit better off, but I'm not saying that the SE is going to be a bad guitar or it's not worth getting. I'm not saying that at all, so don't comment that, please. I do think that the way that they designed the neck and the fact that it has rosewood, I think those are two really great positives. They didn't change the actual shape of the neck and they gave you rosewood. I do think that the 8.5 radius is just weird. I think they missed the mark on that, and given the people what they wanted, either a 9.5 or a 7.25 would have been maybe the better option, but if it plays brilliant, then that's all that really matters, to be quite honest. As far as the colors go, the four that we get, Stone Blue is my favorite, but that said, I think this is another part where they missed the mark. None of them really do it for me, to be honest, so it'd be interesting to see if next year they release more colors for the guitar, or in person they might even look better, but at least to me, none of them speak to me, and I think when I hear like Dragon Fruit, I was kind of hoping for something just a little different, and the same thing with the other colors. I'm just not personally a fan. One other thing too to maybe expect is that the boards on the SE Silver Skies aren't going to be as dark as probably the ones you'll all see on the core models. That said, you can dye them to be darker than you get from the factory, and I'm not sure if PRS actually does dye their boards, but a lot of the core Silver Skies you see do have extremely dark boards. I'm personally a fan of really dark boards, so if you get one and the rosewood isn't as dark, that is an option you can actually do, just dye it darker. But from the factory, I don't think you're going to be getting them overall on average as dark, obviously, as the woods that are selected for the regular model. Other than that, I think really the 2 points that you can maybe look to upgrading your SE Silver Sky in the future would be the tuners from the vintage non-locking to some locking, like I said earlier, especially if the Silver Sky ones, you can just source them out and swap them on to get some locking tuners. I love these tuners and I think that'd be a worthwhile upgrade for sure. And then the pickups too. I'm not sure at that point how worth it would be to spend the sometimes crazy asks you see for these Silver Sky pickups that occasionally pop up on Reverb if someone's just parted a guitar or whatever. I'm not sure if it'd be worth the trouble to source and put different pickups in the guitar, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see as the SEs roll out if a lot of people start doing that and it becomes kind of feasible to swap even standard Silver Sky pickups in it or different ones. I don't know, but only time will tell. I think those are two things you could consider upgrading. I'm probably not going to buy an SE Silver Sky, but if one makes its way into my local store, I'll definitely try it and maybe bring it home for a few days, see what it's like, do a couple comparisons for you guys and tone demonstrations, maybe blindfolded could be fun. And yeah, we're going to have to just see what happens. I think it's going to sell really, really well. So we're honestly just going to have to wait and see, and I'm excited. I think that John and Paul wouldn't put their names on anything that wasn't exceptionally great value for money and worthwhile owning. Leave a comment down below if you think that the 8.5-inch radius is a good thing, if you're a little shocked like me about that selection. How do you feel about the colors, if you're going to be purchasing one or holding out for a regular? Just leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts, and I'd love to see some discussions on the SE Silver Sky and what you guys all think. I'd love to see some discussions and chat with you guys in the comments down below. So until then, you guys, take care and thanks for watching.